Computer. Hey guys, it is Heather Harrison, and we are going to go ahead and get this call started. It is Wednesday, January 13th. I'm pretty sure that's the date and the time and all the fun things. It's been a very chaotic day, but things happen and life happens, and Brooke knows all about it. She was a former kindergarten teacher. And I am so excited. I know that we have tried to hook up and jump on calls before with each other, and the timing just wasn't right. And I feel so. I messaged her earlier, and I was like, "Hey, here's the Zoom for the night." And she's like, "Oh my God, it's tonight!" I thought it was
like, "That's 7 minutes." Oh my God. Okay, I'll be there.
And so here's the thing with like real life, things like this happen and things like this come up. And I'm really excited to just have her tell her story and talk on the fear of inviting. I think a lot of the times when it comes to new coaches, veteran coaches, even like they're really comfortable sharing their workouts, but when it comes to inviting to their group or to coaching, it's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen on the other side? Instead of kind of taking the emotion out of it, right? And saying, I'm going to take the emotion out. If they say no, they say no. It's not no forever. But even just as a coach, even 5 years, let me go ahead and mute everybody. Except for you. I'll take you off on mute. Did it say ask to unmute?
I didn't even know I was muted. Oh, you muted me.
I muted.
God, yes.
So, Brooke, you guys has been in this business for 6 years?
Almost 6. April will be 6.
6 years. Crazy. And we both jumped into 5-star this past year, and it's just been the most exciting, incredible leap, I think, for a lot of people that have done this, because you get into that phase of like, okay, when's it gonna go? When are we gonna, like, when is the next like leadership phase gonna go for us? Are we gonna make it? Like all these things that come through our minds, and what it boils down to is inviting and doing our vital behaviors every day. So I'm going to let Brooke take over, share her story. I'm really excited about it because I've not heard your full story before, and give us all the takeaways on the fear of inviting. How you got
absolutely.
So it is yours. The floor is yours.
Can you make me a host? Make me the
host
so I can share my screen.
Yes. How do I look? You're like, can you make me a host? Let me see.
It's like the top 3 dots in the top right.
Make host. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So, hey guys, I'm so glad I checked my phone I'm Eastern time, so it's 9:08. I'm so glad I checked my phone at like 8:55, and Heather said that. And so I didn't want to have to, I felt bad. I would have felt badly if I had to reschedule. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad that you are here, whether you are listening live or you're going to be listening to the recording. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to, my story and what I have to say. And I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to say anything like totally earth shattering to you, but I believe strongly in, we kind of absorb, we hear things when we need to hear them. And so even if you've heard these things before, maybe it's the place that you're at in your business now versus when you heard it a year ago, or maybe it's the season of life, maybe your why has changed and you're kind of like more open to doing the things and hearing the things. And so my goal is so that you can take something that I share tonight and really apply it to your business literally tomorrow. So I'm going to share my screen. I do my Canva like this because if I do it in presentation mode, I can't see myself, and it's like weird to me. I feel like I'm talking to myself. So I like to have you guys over here on the right. So, so let me back up and tell you a little bit about my story. So as Heather said, I've been a coach for almost 6 years, which is just crazy. Before I started coaching, I had been a kindergarten teacher. Now I grew up like loving kids. I'm the youngest, so I never had like a baby sibling or anything. And I just love like little kids. And so, I worked at a daycare. I was a nanny. I babysat. I taught swimming lessons. Like I did all the things with kids. And so it kind of I honestly don't know if anything else ever crossed my mind. It was just like, that made the most sense to be a teacher, an early childhood education teacher. And so I went to school. I went undergrad for 4 years, 3 years for grad school. So 7 years I'm going to school. And so I graduate from grad school. And let me back up before I say that. That spring, as I was graduating from grad school, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, I think we had just moved in together, and we did P90X, like the original P90X back in the day. We had the DVDs, and there was no like nutrition programs. There was a nutrition program that aligned with P90X, but it was not as simple as the containers are to be. The workouts were 60 minutes. I think yoga was 90 minutes. It was insane, but we followed it to a T. And both of us got, especially me, I got into the best shape of my life the season that I graduated grad school. So then, you know, all is well and good. And then I land my first teaching job. And I just, with everything and anything that I do, I like to do it 150%. So, and being a first year teacher in general, you know, I was just all about my new job. Like I was so excited because sometimes teacher jobs are really, you know, hard to come by. And so for me to get a job relatively easily, I was just so excited about it. And I looked pretty young anyway, but I knew, you know, this is what, now 5 years ago, I'm sure I looked super young to my students' parents. And I just wanted to kind of prove to them and, you know, make them see that like I had it. Like I had their child's kindergarten education under control. Like I was going to be the best teacher ever. And so, like I had said, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we were just dating, we were renting, we had a dog. We didn't have a mortgage yet. We didn't have like serious expenses. We didn't have, you know, we didn't have any kids yet. So I didn't really have it, but I felt like I had extra money that I could spend on my classroom supplies. Like I loved Lakeshore Learning, and I had extra time because I didn't have to come home and like tend to my kids and feed them dinner and spend time with them and give them a bath. Like I would come home and, you know, my husband and I would eat dinner together, and it was just, you know, I was back on the couch doing schoolwork to prep for the next day. So all of this to say, I poured my heart and soul into my job, like all the extra time, all the extra energy, all the extra money. So obviously that meant I was sleeping a lot less, which meant, and when I'm tired, I have like zero willpower. So not only did I not have enough time to work out, but I didn't really care anymore because I was so damn tired. And then I didn't have time or the desire to do any meal prepping or meal planning. And so I would come home late from work. I would often be the last one to leave the school. It was pitch dark, and I'd come home and eat whatever my husband made or ordered out. And that was fine because it was quick and yummy. And then I would be back on the couch getting ready for the next day. So I lived that life for a couple years, and it was fine, again, because I had the extra time. But I think around when, you know, my mindset started shifting was when I got engaged and we started, you know, planning our wedding. And I am such a type A. I'm a planner in general. And so once I started living this kindergarten teacher life and then started thinking about my future, I was like, I have no idea how this is going to work out. Like, how am I going to be the teacher that I want to be? And then how am I also going to be the mom that I want to be one day? I think prior to this, I had just been like living in this dream world that, you know, I was going to have all the time and I was going to have all the patience and the resources at my fingertips to be the best teacher. And I was going to be able to be the best mom at the same time. I was just going to like make extra hours in the day. I don't know I was just like living on cloud nine. So once I started teaching and I realized that for me anyway, teaching was not what I had hoped and expected it to be, I was like, well, you know, shit, I don't think this is going to work. And so I started, like I said at the beginning of this call, I think when we are ready to hear something, we're kind of more open to hearing it, finding it, seeing it, watching it. So once I started kind of thinking like, well, hey, maybe teaching isn't going to be, you know, my end all be all. Maybe I'm not going to be like 65 and retiring and be like, oh, I've been teaching kindergarten for the last 40 years. I started kind of being more open to other things. And so once teaching was no longer my plan A, I was on the hunt to look for something, because I couldn't just quit teaching. Like, we needed an income. Like, we can't live just on my husband's income. So being the planner that I am, I was thinking, you know, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And if I had some kids at home, like, how was I going to handle being a teacher and a mom? And I would ask some of my teacher friends who are also moms. And oftentimes they were like, yeah, you just kind of do each job like 50%. You're like a 50% teacher, like kind of half-ass it. And you kind of half-ass being a mom too, at least during the week. And I was like, no, like that's not cool with me. No. And so that's when I started paying closer attention to my coach. And she's actually my adoptive coach, but I'll get into that in a second. But I started paying more closer attention to her posts, and her story really started resonating with me, because I was in this place in my life that I was looking for something else, right? So I had seen her posts before, but they didn't really do anything for me until I was ready to really take in what she was offering. And so she was home. Her story that she shared so freely on social media was exactly what I wanted my future to be like. Like, I could see my future in her present. And so she was a mom, and she was home with her kids, and she was really happy, and she was really healthy and fit, and she was making money. It was like, whoa, 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 what is this chick doing? Like, I need to do that. And so I ended up, I think she had invited me in the past, but again, I wasn't ready. So I think it was like 2 years I continued to say no to her, until finally I was like, all right, you know, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to give this thing a shot. And so again, being a planner and kind of planning down the road, because I knew that I wanted to start something now so that in the future, when I had hopefully kids, I had options. Talking about being a control freak, that's literally what I am. I like to be in control. So I know myself, and I know that I never wanted to put myself in a situation where I had to go back to work because we couldn't afford for me to not. I had to go back to work because we needed my benefits or something. Like, I never wanted somebody else to be in control of how I was going to live my life, especially when kids were in the picture. So I knew I had to do something then. And so I jumped in with 2 feet. When I finally did jump in, I was like a unicorn, because I jumped in for coaching, and I jumped in for, obviously, you know, my own health journey, because I had gained some weight over those years of, you know, the first couple of years not caring about what I was eating or sleeping and not working out. I gained a little bit of weight. And so I was thinking of, you know, looking ahead to when I was going to be pregnant. I wanted to kind of get into better shape, and I wanted to start something then, so I had options down the road. So then I ended up getting pregnant 4 months later. And then it was like, well, you know, now the clock is ticking. Like, before, I had this vision of like in the future when I have kids, but now it was like, hurry up. I have 9 months now to make this business work, or else I'm going to have to go back to work, and I don't know what we're going to do with this baby. Like, I'm not going to ask my mom to babysit full time. I really don't want to put him or her in daycare. And so so then I was just like I said, I was like a unicorn sign up. I did all the things. I was super coachable. I, asked the questions that I needed to. I put myself out there. I stepped outside my comfort zone because I had this emotion now attached to my why. Before, it was like, when I have kids, I want to have options. I want to, have a healthy, happy lifestyle that we didn't worry about money and all. But now it was like, this was the real deal. Like, the clock was ticking, and I had that emotion attached to my why, which I think has pushed me since the very beginning of my business. And so to end that part of my story, I worked my butt off, that year. So that year is my 6th year teaching, which was ended up being my last year. And it overlapped with, my pregnancy, my first year coaching. And so I hustled. I'm sure people thought I was nuts. Like, here I am. I'm teaching full time, coaching part time, and literally growing a human. I would stay up late. I would wake up early. Once I knew that teaching was no longer my plan A, I started to find pockets of time to work my business. Like I used to go above and beyond for teaching. Like I said, I wanted to be the best teacher ever. And so instead of going above and beyond anymore, I was using that time for Beachbody. I stopped eating lunch in the teacher's lounge, and I would eat in my classroom. I'd turn the lights off and shut the door so nobody thought I was in there, so nobody would come and bother me. And I'd be like eating with one hand, and with the other hand, I was, sending friend requests, sending follow requests, answering messages, checking into my challenge group. But I made it work. So then I took a 16-month leave of absence. He was born, my oldest, he was born the end of April. So usually teachers might take like April, May, June, and then have the summer. I took that whole next school year because I knew I wasn't going back, but I had only been a coach for a year when I went on maternity leave. So I hadn't quite I wasn't making enough money, not only to, for us to survive, but also to justify it to my parents who had just paid for me to go to college for 7 years, justify it to my parents, to myself, to my husband. I needed a little bit more time. So I could justify taking a 16-month leave of absence. And so then here I am as a brand new mom with an itty bitty baby, first time mom. And I just figured it out. Like I just made it work. I found those pockets. I'm sure I was exhausted, but I just made it work. And that's what really goes into my idea of getting over the fear of inviting, because I have the two things that kind of set the tone for my business. Was one, I had a strong connection, like a strong emotional connection to my why. My back was always against the wall because pretty much right after I started coaching and really kind of getting into the groove of things, I got pregnant. So like I had no time to give a crap about what anybody on the other side of my invite was thinking. The other thing is that a few months into coaching, once you kind of start to learn, like the ins and outs of the business and the back office and the genealogy and all that fun stuff, I realized that I was put on a dead inside weak leg. So I call myself a dead leg warrior. Basically, if you're not familiar with what that would mean, that basically I do have an upline. I have a very supportive upline. We we do groups and trainings and there's all the things, except I get zero volume help. So I get no volume from up above. So any volume that I have on each of my legs is 100% my efforts, obviously, and the efforts of my person sponsored coaches that I'm putting there and their coaches and so forth. So I've never really had like a strong leg and a weak leg. Like everything I've earned it because it's 100% my effort. So at first I was really, really, really upset about it. Pretty angry about it. But then, I realized I had two choices. I could either quit and wait 6 months and sign up again. And I didn't have that 6 months because now I had a baby in my belly. Like the clock was ticking. Or I could, get over it and swallow the fact that it might take a little bit longer and it might be a little bit harder, but I can still do it. And, I'm sure you can imagine which road I took. I didn't quit. So I'm here. So that's really the three things I think that have really ingrained this kind of idea in my head that like, I never had the time to fear inviting. I just had to do what my coach told me to do because I had such a big why and I had such an emotionally attached why, and I was on a time limit. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'll touch on a little bit. So that's really where this mentality comes from. So, and then so after that 16-month leave of absence, I ended up retiring. So I don't teach anymore. So I haven't taught since my oldest was born. And that once I knew that teaching was no longer my plan A, that was my plan A. And so because of this business, I've been able to do that. And now I have a baby as well. And it's just been so amazing. I can't imagine where I would be if it wasn't for Beachbody. I'd probably still be teaching. My kids would probably be in daycare and I'd probably be miserable. And on a teacher salary, my salary probably would have gone straight to daycare. Like I probably wouldn't have even be making that much more. So I'm super grateful for this business, and I'm super grateful for the fact that I jumped in when I did. I think I was just going to say something, I forget. But okay, so we're going to talk more about inviting and why you, right here, why it's important, why it's not scary, how you can do it, making it a daily vital, and reaping the benefits. So I really think of inviting as like this 50-50. I think of it as like a 50%, it's a mindset thing. You have to get in the right mindset, but it's also a mechanics. If you are doing the things, inviting won't feel scary or salesy or like you're bothering somebody if you're doing the things. I'm going to talk to you about what that means. So if you have ever been nervous, and I really do want you to raise your hand. Have you ever been nervous to send an invite because, number one, raise your hand if you've been nervous to send an invite because you're afraid of what someone will think of you. I tell everybody, if you're not raising your hand, you're lying. Like, we've all been there. Have you ever been nervous to send an invite because you're afraid, because you may think that they're going to think you're only trying to sell something to them. You're trying to be salesy. We've all been there too. Or have you ever been nervous to send an invite because you're afraid of inviting somebody too many times? Okay. So let's go into why all of those things need to not be an issue. If you truly want to help people, which I don't think you would be here if you didn't want to help people. That's like the base of our business. But if you truly want to help people, you have to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable. It just is what it is. You will not have a business if you don't invite. And more than that is your business will grow based on the number of invites you're sending. Like if you're cool with making a hobby coach income, then that's fine. And you can, send hobby coach numbers of invites, send 5. That's totally cool. But if you're looking to be a serious business builder, if you're looking to, leave your job, if you're looking to have an extra income so you can go on vacations or whatever your why is, and that's why it's important to have an emotion attached to your why, but whatever your why is, you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking about your invites. If you want to make a serious income, you have to increase that number of invites each week. And part of our job is getting uncomfortable. Like it is what it is. In order to find the people who need our help, it's going to take weeding through a bunch of people who don't need our help, or who don't think they need our help, or who don't think they need our help right now. But that's what it's going to take. It's very rare that somebody's going to come to you. Once in a blue moon, you might have somebody pop up in your inbox. But in order to find those people, to get to them, we have to go through all of the no's until we find our yes. Right? Go for No. That's an awesome PD book if you've never heard of it. If you've never read it, it's called Go for No. The idea is the more no's you hear, the closer you are to your next yes. Most people are not going to say yes the first time they're invited. So going back to the inviting people over and over and over, I think there's some statistic that says people have to see the same or hear or be invited 7 to 10 times or something before they're going to say yes, or before they're even going to be open to hearing more about it. But it's our job to continue to invite them until the time is right for them. Like my coach, she invited me over and over and over. But once I was ready to find something new, to make a change, that's when I said yes. And what would have happened if when I was ready to say yes, she was no longer a coach? Then I would have gotten to somebody else, and somebody else would have a 5-star below them, or below as their personally sponsored coach. So it's our job to continue to show up in social media and in people's inboxes, because the time will be right for them eventually. But it's our job to be here when the time is right for them. Even though we know that the right time is right now. We know that our groups are awesome. We know that 9-Week Control Freak is the bomb. We know that what we offer is the best thing out there. But people timing is important, and people aren't going to be ready until they're ready, and then think of it the other way. Like if people were to jump in when their head's not in it, then they're probably not going to do it 100%. And they're probably not going to get the best results. And then they're probably not going to, want to build a team with you. So timing is important. People are counting on us to change their life. It's hardly that they're going to come to you. Think of it this way. By choosing not to invite somebody, you're robbing them of the opportunity to change their life. Like think about where you would be today if your coach hadn't invited you. Like I was saying at the beginning with my story, if my coach hadn't invited me, and if she hadn't invited me over and over and over, I don't know if I'd be doing Beachbody. Maybe I would have signed up with somebody else, but maybe I wouldn't have followed through with it, and maybe I would still be teaching. And it's a personal preference, but I just didn't want to put my kids in daycare, and I want to be home with them. And so I might not have had a choice. And if I was still teaching, I think I would be the most miserable person. I'm sure I'd be overweight because I'd be eating my feelings. I'm sure I'd be exhausted and have no patience. And I'd miss my kids, and I'd be a horrible wife, and I'd be a horrible mom. And it's not for me. And so I think all the time about where I would be if I wasn't invited. And so think about how your life would be different. Even if you just signed up as a coach, think about in terms of, the workouts and fitness and the nutrition side of things. Like where would you be if that wasn't introduced to you? And so just know when you're inviting somebody, you're not just inviting them to your challenge group. You're inviting them to create that relationship with you, to succeed in their fitness and nutrition journey, but then also possibly to change their life with this coaching business. So we're going to lay the foundation now. Like this is what I said at the beginning. If you're doing the things, the natural next step is just to invite. If you're not doing these foundational things, it's going to feel weird to invite somebody. And when it feels weird to invite somebody, it's going to be hard to make yourself do it. But I promise you, and it gets easier with time. Like what's that saying? Confidence is a muscle. Like the more you use it, the easier it's going to get. I promise. What did Moira Kusabash said? I got good at inviting by inviting. And I got good at following up by following up. And I got good at, hosting team calls by hosting team calls. You learn by doing in this business. So the first layer of our foundation is stories. If you are not showing up in your stories, it's probably going to feel weird when you go to invite somebody to your health and fitness challenge and you have nothing about health and fitness on your stories. Or even worse, you have no stories. Because especially if it's a cold market person, you might send an invite. They might take a quick peek at it, and then they might think like, oh, I don't know Brooke. I'm going to go kind of like scope her page. And if you have nothing about health and fitness, it's going to they're going to be confused. And they might not even answer you, or they might just be quick to say no because they think it's some sort of scam or something. But if you're just nonchalantly inviting to your challenge group because you're showing up every single day in your stories and you're showing your challenge group how much it kicks ass, and you're showing what you posted in your challenge group, and you're showing like a screenshot video of the girls who are chiming in with their workout selfies, and you're sharing the meal plan that you just put into your group, like those are the things that people want to see. If you're showing that you're meal planning, if you're showing your workout clips, that's what people want to see. But beyond that, you also just want to show you. Right? Health and fitness, coaching, I think of them as two different things. Like health and fitness, like fitness and nutrition, and then coaching is two of the things that make me me. You want to show other pieces of you as well. So you want to show your workout clips, right? This goes back to being a product of the product. Like I can even go one step below stories, is like being a product of the product, so that when you're inviting, you're simply inviting people to join you. You're not asking them to do something that you're not already doing. Right? It's going to be hard when you're talking to somebody about like a challenge pack and what's included and justifying the price and that sort of thing, if you're not drinking Shakeology and sharing about it. They might, if they're confused or they want to know more information, it's really easy when I can just say, oh, that's my shake that you see me drinking every day in my stories. Like no big deal. That's what I drink. That's what I'm going to suggest you drink. Or like, oh, what's Energized? That's the pink drink you see me drinking every day before I start working out. And they're like, oh, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll try it. But if they have no idea what you're talking about, it's probably going to be unlikely that they're going to, just be willing to jump in. So you want to show your workout clips. You want to show products without the labels. You want to talk about and show things that add value to the person you're speaking to. Again, another foundational thing, if you are connecting and you are gaining followers and friends on Facebook, whatever platform you use, if you are doing that, the connecting part of the business activity tracker, then if you're connecting with people who are in your niche, when you go just to talk about your everyday life, those things are going to resonate with the people who are now following you because they're already in your niche. So you don't have to go out of your way to talk about all of these things. Like, so for example, I'm a mom, and I'm a mom of a preschooler, and I have like a very young toddler. So we, I have very different stages. And so if I added people that from like a breastfeeding group, if I added people who have like a preschooler, I used to be obviously a kindergarten teacher, so I'll sometimes show like the activities that I do with my oldest. And so I add moms, like other moms from maybe like a preschool website or a baby-led weaning Facebook group. Then when I talk about just my everyday life, it resonates with them because we share those connections. When you add value to the people who are watching, that's what's going to want to make them come back and watch you again. Like if you lead with a servant's heart is what we, talk about on our team, like give, and expect nothing else in return. Give free recipes, give free mom hack advice and whatever your niche is. Like give tips, something that you found on Pinterest. Just thought I would share this, like anything and everything that you can. And that's what's going to lead people to come back. Like, oh, Brooke shared an awesome recipe last week. I made it tonight. My kids loved it. My husband loved it. I'm going to check out her stories again. Maybe she's posting another recipe, talk to the camera. I know it seems really weird at first. You're literally talking to yourself, but that's how we get to know people. Think about celebrities, right? Think about like the Kardashians or whoever you follow or watch or whatever. We get to know them because we know more about their life, and maybe you see them on TV, and so you can hear their voice and like their quirks, and you feel like you get to know them, right? It's like when a TV series ends and you're like, what am I going to do without this show? Like, I feel like I'm part of their family. That's what talking is going to do for your followers, because there's only so much they're going to get by seeing stories and boomerangs. You want to talk to them. Like last night, it's probably still there if you look at my store. It might have been expired by now. I started talking, and then I realized I had a huge thing in my teeth. And I like posted it anyway, because that's just like life. You know what I mean? People want to just know who you are, because when they get to know you, that's when they're going to start to like you. And when they start to like you is when they're going to trust you. And when they trust you is when they're going to join you. Right? And then talk about what we do as coaches. I think we're so quick to talk about health and fitness and recipes and workouts and all this fun stuff. But the end goal, right, is to build a team of leaders. So you need to be talking about coaching, whether it's like little breadcrumbing things here and there, and like straight up call to action coaching posts and stories. I think we're quick to not do that as much. But again, that's just part of our everyday life, it's going to be easy to invite to coaching. It's going to be easy to talk about it. So we have being a product of the product. I should really add that to this slide. And then doing your stories. If you are, doing 5, 8, 10 stories a day, it's just gonna start coming natural. Then you want to be doing your posts. So your stories is like behind the scenes. Like that's just the real you. That's where people really get to know you. And then your posts are like your storefront. They're like, that's where, and if you're a newer coach, I don't want you to get totally hung up on like making your page like super aesthetically pleasing and all of it has to be perfect and the lighting, and just start. And those are things that you can kind of tweak as you go. But your posts are like the cover of the magazine, right? It's like the highlights almost. Think about who you're attracted to. Are you going to be attracted to someone who just like vomits Beachbody all over their page? Or are you going to be more attracted to somebody who's well-rounded, shows you all of the different pieces of them, and health and fitness just happens to be one of them? Like think of like like a Monet girl, like a hair girl. And if all she talks about is hair, then I'm probably not going to like care to follow her anymore. But if she like talks about her kids and then she talks about like all of the things that she does or whatever, and then she kind of sprinkles in hair stuff, then I might be a little bit more intrigued, because people are going to initially be connected to you because of whatever you have in common outside of Beachbody, outside of health and fitness. Like I attract lots of moms, right? And they get to know me, they get to follow me a little bit more, they're starting to trust me. And then bam, I have a call to action for my fitness group, and they're like, oh, okay, like maybe that is something I've been thinking about wanting to get in on. Maybe, Brooke seems like a really like normal person. Maybe I'll, give it a try. Right? So talk about all of the pieces of you, because that's what people are going to be attracted to. They're not coming to you. They can go to www.teambeachbody.com right now and order the 9-week Control Freak challenge pack without you. What they can't get by doing that is you as their coach. So through your posts, through your stories, you want to show them why you are the person that they should sign up with. What you post about is what you attract. So if you're just like vomiting Beachbody stuff, you're not going to attract people who are like genuinely interested in what you have to offer. You might get like some random customers here or there, but your brand, it's basically a fancy way to say like the 5 things that make you you. Like I said, I think of fitness nutrition as one of those things and coaching as one. And then what else? Like I have, being a former teacher, which plays a lot into like my coaching story. So I talk about that a lot. I talk about my anxiety, I'm just honest about it. Obviously being a mom, I'm a dog mom. So, just think of what else you have to offer, what else you can talk about, what other parts of you can share beyond Beachbody. So then this is the messages, like we set the tone. We are in love with our own journey. We love Shakeology. We're sharing the products. We're posting on our stories what we're doing every day. We're working out every day, so we're going to post about it. We're drinking our shake every day, so we're going to post about it. We, pick up our kids, walk the dog, watch a show, go to work, eat your lunch. Like you're posting just these things that it's just like your everyday stuff that you're posting in your stories. A few times a week or however many times a week you want, you're posting on your page, like the cover photo type posts. The next natural step is to then invite people. Like you're sharing about it in your stories, you're sharing about yourself on your page. Think about going back to like if your coach hadn't invited you. Like now it's your turn to pay this forward. If you deep in your soul believe that Beachbody has changed your life for the better for whatever reason, who are we to not share that with other people? Like Beachbody has totally changed my life in so many ways, and I'm so grateful for it. So who am I to judge that this Sarah girl I met on Instagram wouldn't want to be part of it too? Or who am I to judge that like Susie, whoever from high school wouldn't want this too? That's where it takes us getting uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable with Sue maybe, judging you, but you never know. How would you feel if you were thinking to yourself tonight and you're like, okay, I really am going to invite Susie from high school. And then you like psych yourself out of it and you don't do it. And then tomorrow you go on social media and you see that she's joined somebody else as a coach. You'd be pissed, right? And then doesn't stop there. Next year on January 13th, you see on your social media that she's become a 2-star. And you're like, what? Like I was this close to inviting her. You know what I mean? So if you're going to be mad that somebody else signs up with somebody, if you're going to be mad that somebody signs up with somebody else, that means you should be inviting them. So private messages, you're doing whatever it's going to take to get it done. Make it a game, make it fun, psych yourself up with some music, take a shot of Energize, whatever it's going to take to get it done. Because I'm telling you, your business will not move forward unless you invite. Use your list of story viewers. I do Facebook and Instagram. Use lists of people who are liking and commenting on your posts. If you exhaust those options, then just go through your friends list on Facebook, go through your followers list on Instagram. Like, you should never feel like you are at a loss of people to invite. If you feel that way, you need to be adding more people every day, getting more eyes on your page. Because when you focus on the game, the timer, the music, whatever, it's going to take your attention is going to be focused on that, and you're not going to have the time to sit there and stew over what Sally Sue is going to think on the other side of her phone when you send this invite. You're just like, I have 20 minutes and I have to send 20 invites, so I don't have time to think about it. I'm just going to click, 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 click. My invites are scripted. It's a script. It's cut and paste. I think that's the next slide. No, yeah, I do put their name, because I think it takes 3 seconds to personalize it. Also, when you put their name, and so you're putting everybody's name when you're sending the invites, it's going to make it less likely that you're going to get flagged on Instagram or Facebook for like scamming people. Because if you send the same exact message too many times in too short of a time frame, you're going to get flagged. But if you're, personalizing with people's names, it's less likely that you would get flagged. Once they answer, that's when there's no script. For me anyway, it's just a conversation, a normal conversation you would have with a girl that you met at your hair salon. It doesn't need to be a script. So these are just a couple of examples when I had asked my team when I was making these slides, but I just tend to keep mine really short, sweet. Like, hey, Sarah, I just wanted to thank you for following my journey. So these would be people like who are following my stories or something. Your support means so much. I was just wondering if you had any interest in jumping into my next virtual bootcamp. Again, because I'm talking about my virtual bootcamp every single day. So it's no big deal to invite her to my virtual bootcamp, because I know she knows about it. She knows that that's what I do. But if I never talk about that, she's going to be like, what virtual bootcamp? You know what I mean? But if you are in love with Beachbody, you're in love with your journey, you would drink Shakeology even if it, cost $100 million, because you love it and you do it anyway. Why not just pass that along to somebody else? And in return, it benefits you. You get a customer, maybe you're going to get a coach out of that. Keep it simple, connect, get to know them. I know different coaches have different formats of how they interact with people, get their information, that sort of thing. I have always been like a back and forth, let's talk it over. I don't let it go on forever, but I like to do that because I feel that it helps me get to know them, and it helps them start to have some trust in me that I really do have their best interest at heart. I feel like I was just going to say something now. I can't remember what it was. I keep it short though. We don't go back and forth for 4 days. It's a couple minutes, hopefully, if they're, by their phone or whatnot. But I don't know. I just feel like it allows them, that's what I was going to say, allows them to kind of get to know me better, but also it allows me to know how I'm going to help them, because just because I started with the 21-day fix doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to start with a 21-day fix. You might be talking to a girl who works out every single day, but is now breaking down because she wants to get some home workouts because she won't go to the gym because of COVID, but she works out every single day, and she has for the past 5 years. She's not going to start with 21-day fix. That's probably going to be way too easy for her. Maybe you give her 21-day fix extreme, or maybe you talk to her about, MBF or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't want to just assume that everybody's going to be cookie cutter, same way. So these are the questions that I typically ask. I ask one at a time. We kind of go back and forth. Can you tell me about your current fitness and nutrition habits? What, if anything, do you struggle with? Have you ever tried following a scripted fitness and nutrition program before? If so, which ones? And that's, people might not realize that what you do is Beachbody. So oh yeah, I've done 21-day fix. And then that gives you the opportunity to talk about do you have the DVDs? Do you still work with your coach? Do you still have an active membership? That sort of thing. Do you think you could squeeze in a 30-minute workout from home most days? And what would you say are your short-term and long-term health goals? Again, just kind of, and then also when you have this information, it gives you, the word I'm looking for, my brain is fried. It gives you ammunition to kind of combat any objections they're going to give you, when you start talking about the price and stuff. well, that's like really expensive or whatever. You're like, okay, well, I know you have some really big goals and I know that I can help you. I also wanted to mention that there is a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you try it and you don't love it, which I know you will, you can always get your money back. So there's literally nothing to lose. You know what I mean? It just kind of allows you to kind of fight back on some of their objections. I make sure they feel validated. I never want them to feel like they're off on this island all by themselves for feeling the way they do or for having the habits that they do. So I'll use feel, felt, found a lot. Like, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. What I found was, and you want to insert some way that Beachbody can fix their problem. So for me, like, this is true, like real life. I used to go to the gym and like just wander around because I didn't know what I was doing. And then I always felt like people were staring at me. And so I'd end up literally doing like the same 3 machines and then I never got results and I'd left and it was just horrible. So like if somebody says something kind of related to that, I'll say something like, I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same exact way, like make a joke out of it, you know, but what I found was with these programs, I can work out at home. Nobody's watching me and I don't have to know what I'm going to do because I'm just following the trainer and they know what to do, you know? And then even if I can't really relate too much, I might stretch the truth a little bit. I might like tell them like, oh yeah, I have a coach on my team who was in the same boat and this is what she did. Again, just so that they feel validated. What are we really selling? We're selling the relationship. Like I said, anybody can go to teambeachbody.com right now and order a bag of Shakeology. But with you, they get the support and you're going to help them find a fun recipe. And maybe through you, they're going to realize that there's workouts behind, you know, this Shakeology and whatever. You're going to establish that relationship. Because again, the goal is to build your team, right? So by starting that relationship, maybe they're going to be more likely to stick around and maybe they're going to be more likely to trust you and want to, you know, try this coaching journey with you. And maybe they're going to, by having that relationship, they're going to get better results than they would have with somebody else or doing it alone. And then they're going to want to pay it forward. Right. So get intentional about why you're doing this. Like, why are you excited to help this person? I think it is real. You never know what people are dealing with, like behind closed doors, and you just never know how this opportunity can truly impact somebody's life. So think about, so I think that's really powerful, and having that kind of fuel your fire. And when you're going to invite people, it's like, how can I change their life? Like what do I have to offer that can truly change this person's life? You're not selling to people, you're extending the invite of something that changed your life. Just like your coach invited you to change your life, now you're just paying it forward. And that's why I think having that strong why is really important, because when you have something, especially when it has like an emotion attached to it, I know as moms, like we would do anything for our kids, right? And so I am a big believer that yes, we need to be able to want to help people, but if that's your only why, that's not strong enough, because that's not going to push you to wake up at 5 a.m. to make sure you get your invites done before your day gets busy. And just wanting to help some random person on social media isn't going to force you to stay up late and get your invites done before you go to bed. Like, but if you have that strong emotion attached to it, like think about your why, think about your goals, and then think about how it would feel to reach those goals. That's what's going to push you every single day. Because there's going to be days that you don't feel like it. There's going to be days that it's uncomfortable. There's going to be days that, you know, you don't think you have the time. But if you have a strong why, you're going to make the time. And if you have a strong why, you're not going to care about, like Susie Q from high school. I don't give a crap about what she thinks of my invite if she's not interested, because she doesn't pay my bills. Like, in order for me to stay home with my kids, I have to, you know, still be able to pay some bills. And so I don't care what anybody else thinks, because I'm doing this so that I can stay home with my kids, and my kids mean more to me than what Susie's reaction is going to be to my invite. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. And you never know, like I said before, maybe you're inviting somebody who needs this way more than you do. And last but not least, like, what's the alternative? If you're cool with not reaching your goals, then, you know, you can kind of sort of invite whenever you want to, whenever you feel like it, whenever it's comfortable. But if you have your back up against the wall for whatever reason, whatever your why may be, and the alternative is like unimaginable, you're going to show up and you're going to do whatever it takes, which includes inviting.
I love that. And it, you know, I think for everybody on this call, it does truly start with just your vital behaviors. And if you are showing up and doing all of the things, you're not being yucky and salesy when it comes to inviting. And really digging deep into your why is huge, because I feel, and you know, tell me if I'm wrong, Brooke, but like your why does have to like literally make you want to wake up and do the things every single day.
100%.
And I think sometimes for people that don't have that big of a why, that's where they struggle. They're like, well, I don't really need this. Like, I don't have why. Like, it says in Think Like a Monk, like your dharma is your passion, and you should want to show up regardless if this is something that's if this is your passion every single day, your why is always going to be strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to really just dive in. Like, I didn't really understand my why until I didn't have a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
You guys. But if you freaking love your job and you want this as your vacation fund, you need to plan out your dream vacation for your family.
And how that would feel. Like, how's that going to feel when you're on that vacation with your family and you've paid for all of it? Like, how's it going to feel to see that look in your kid's face when you know, like having that emotion, I think is important.
Tie the emotion to the why.
Yeah.
And write your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your vision might look like, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like, I want to replace my full-time, you know, income with Beachbody income. It doesn't have to be that.
No, because not everybody wants to leave their job. Like, I was talking to one of my coaches. She's like, I just want to help people. She's like, I don't need the money. And I was like, doubtful. And so I was like, I'm going to ask you some personal questions. Like, do you have debt? She's like, yeah. I was like, do you have, like, what kind of debt? She's like, credit card debt, student loan debt. I was like, do you have a mortgage? Like everybody, you know, you don't have money saved for your kids' college fund yet. Like, everybody can use money, even if you don't like need it. You know what I mean? I think that, again, having that emotion, like, imagine how it would feel to be able to send your kids to college in 10 years with them not having any student loan debt. Like, that would probably feel amazing.
So my goal for everybody tonight on this call, or if you're, you know, watching this call, is A, write down why you're afraid to invite. And then B, I'm going to ask Brooke for, you know, if she's willing to share her presentation, go back and like ask yourself the questions about, are you doing these things in your stories every day? Because if you're doing the things in your stories, people already know what you're doing, and it should not be nasty and salesy and icky to invite somebody into a group that could potentially like change their life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody on this call, no matter if you're a brand new coach or you've been a coach for a year, or if you've been a coach for, you know, 2-3 years, there's a reason that you're still here. Mm-hmm. And it might have started with your physical journey, right? It might have started with your health journey, but you're still here for a reason now coaching. So take your why, tie the emotion to your why. And then I can't remember, it's her slide that has all of the things that you're supposed to be doing every single day, you know, in your stories. And then like, ask yourself that if I go through my stories, am I going to see a workout clip? Am I going to see myself maybe just grabbing my Energize? Am I going to, you know, speak to that mom that left her corporate job and really still wants to add value and wants to do something and financially help out their family, but can't stay? Like, Like I talked to that person because I never knew I wanted to be that stay-at-home mom until I found coaching, right? Talk to the camera. Like literally just pretend like you're talking to yourself, you guys, or you're talking with your best friend. And then don't be afraid to talk about what we do as coaches, right? You don't have, a teacher's not afraid to teach you something that she's learned. A car salesman's not afraid to come to you and sell you a car and tell you all the amazing things about the car, right? If you walk into a boutique, they're not afraid to help you find that perfect dress that's going to be custom to your body. So don't be afraid to share what is truly working for you. Brooke, I loved everything about this. There's just so many good nuggets and takeaways, especially for new coaches, because I think that it's so important right off the bat to just understand that, like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. And you just have to have that why with the emotion behind it to start coaching and being intentional with it. So I hope everybody got some amazing nuggets out of this. I will ask Brooke I have the recording, so I'm going to stop the recording.